What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We're here to talk about some more college football, but there's a little bit of an elephant in the room to talk about, is there not? Because in the news, randomly this morning, the Pac 12 seemingly revived themselves from the dead. Now, is the Pac 12 really back? What's going to happen with the Pac 12? Are there going to be any more additions? What's going to happen with the Mountain West? I'll tell you what's going to happen in this episode. We had a game last night in Arizona State versus Texas State. I didn't watch the game because I was watching Bills Dolphins, and I'm telling you now, I think Tua needs to medically retire. I think he needs to. Watching that play, and you just see him seize up. I mean, it's a rough thing to see. I think he's got it. I think he's got to retire. Take your money and go home, man. It's not worth it. It is not worth it to live your life in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Come on. Just take your money and go, please, for your own health, please, for everyone's sake. But we're not an NFL podcast. We're a college football podcast. So I think this episode, I'm just going to talk about conference realignment. I'm just going to talk about this Pac 12 news. I think that's just kind of the game plan here. Because I think it's very interesting, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions going around. So let's just try and clear that stuff up. So what happened? Let's talk about that first. Pac-12 is adding 4 members: Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno State, right? From the Mountain West. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean that the Pac-12 is trying to be a power conference again? Does it mean that they're going to get an automatic bid in the qualifier into the playoff starting in 2026? Well, I don't know if the Pac-12 thinks that's what's going to happen, but I'm telling you right now, that's not going to happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen. The Pac-12 is going to be and end up being the best group of 5 conference. Look at the conference right now. Washington State, Oregon State, San Diego State, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State. How is that a power conference? How? It's not, is the answer. It's not a power conference. Because let's say in that 26 season, Boise State wins the Pac-12. Are you telling me Boise State should get an automatic qualifying bid into the playoff? Would Boise State be better than the 3rd or 4th best SEC team? Would they be better than Ole Miss, for example? No, they would not. Not in this planet or the next. Not happening. Now, what's going to happen from here on out? Well, obviously, I think they're going to add more members. They need 10 members before the 2026 season. They have 6. They need 4 more. I think UNLV is almost a lock because that Las Vegas market would be huge for them. It's also just kind of a question of, are UNLV and Nevada a package deal? Do they come together? We'll see. I think you also look more east. I think they will try and get into Texas with UTSA. I think UTSA is a likely target of the Pac-12. There's been some talk about UTEP North Texas. That could get them some more footholds in Texas as well. But I don't think UTEP or North Texas is big enough or good enough. Let's go even more east. Tulane in New Orleans. I've heard that team thrown around a lot as a potential option. I've even heard USF be mentioned. Here's my thing, though. If the Pac 12 is willing to go as east as Florida to go get USF, why not get Memphis? Because I haven't heard Memphis's name not one time. So if you're willing to go all the way to Florida and get USF, why would you not get Memphis? I'll tell you why. Because I don't think they're going to go that east. I think the farthest east they will go is New Orleans with Tulane. Because I think Memphis and USF are at a point where they're just going to kind of wait it out and join either the Big 12 or the ACC in the future. And Tulane could do the same. But I think Tulane could be an option. I think that's the farthest east they go. I think UNLV is a lock. I think UTSA might be a lock as well. It's just about the other two. It could be Nevada. It could be UTEP. It could be North Texas. It could be someone we're not even thinking of. It could be Hawaii. I don't know if they would want Hawaii because it just makes travel very weird and expensive. But they could think of it. I think as far as other teams in the Mountain West, I don't think they're big enough. I don't think they have big enough markets for the Pac-12 to care. Like Wyoming, for example, has been mentioned a lot. Look, I understand Josh Allen came from Wyoming. I understand that Wyoming a lot of years has a good team. They're not a big enough market. It's not just about how good of a team you are. If it was simply about how good is the team, do you think Vanderbilt would be in the SEC? The answer is no. The answer is no. But why is Vanderbilt in the SEC? Because where are they located? Nashville, Tennessee. Big market. That's how this works. Right? Now, other teams in the Mountain West, New Mexico, I don't see how that's a big enough market. Air Force could be an option, but I think Air Force will just go and join Army and Navy in the American Conference. So I don't think that's going to happen either. I think it really just comes down to UNLV and Nevada because there's negotiations going on right now between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. Why? So there was news, well, there's news now, that Washington State and Oregon State had contacted the Big 12 wanting to join. But the Big 12 basically said, we aren't looking to expand with y'all right now. And they said, okay, fine. But then what happens? The news comes out. Big 12 is looking to add UConn. Washington State and Oregon State take that as a slap in the face and basically have now started a hostile takeover of the Mountain West. And it started with these four today. And the Mountain West, in my opinion, is pretty much dead. Because they're in negotiations right now. And a merger is possible. If they merge, the Mountain West is dead. But even if they don't merge, what do they expect to happen? I think you're pretty much a lock to lose UNLV, and that's a massive loss. That kills the conference because you already lost Boise State as well. You lost Boise State, which was your biggest brand, and now you're about to lose your biggest market in UNLV. You're dead. You're done. And I heard people, they're talking about, oh, Mountain West, they can just add North Dakota State and South Dakota State. They can add Montana and Montana State. What that? You think that replaces Boise State and Las Vegas? Congrats, you have Mount Rushmore. Who cares? That's not going to do anything. I think a merger is the best possible outcome for both conferences at this point. And a lot of people seemingly, for some reason, people think that past Pac-12 members are going to leave their current situations and go to the Pac-12. If you think that, you are in la la land. La la land. You are delusional. Let's take a look at those teams. So, first, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. Why in the world would they leave the Big Ten to go to the Pac 12? They're going to get more money in the Big Ten than they ever will in the Pac 12. Plain and simple. Let's go to the Big 12. Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah. Again, they're going to make more money with the Big 12. Also, I don't think people are recognizing the risk involved with going to the Pac 12 right now, especially if you are a member of Power Four conferences. Why would you go to the Pac 12? Right now, where you are, you have an automatic qualifier into the playoff if you win the conference championship. You are not guaranteed that at the Pac 12. And I know a bunch of people, and I think even the Pac 12 themselves, think that they're going to get an automatic qualifier. In what world? Look at the conference. How is that worthy of an automatic qualifier? Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and the others? I just blanked on who. Fresno State, and then Washington State and Oregon State. How is that tell you? Even if they get Tulane, UTSA, UNLV, Nevada, that's still not a power conference. What's going to happen is they're going to be the best group of five conference. And that's just where they're going to live, in that best group of five conference. And that's not a bad place to be. It's not. And they will be the best group of five conference because they're going to have all the best markets and the best talent and the best teams. So there's risk involved. And then the most popular teams, Cal and Stanford. A lot of people seemingly think Cal and Stanford are going back to the Pac 12. Guys, they just joined the ACC. So, look, not only will they make more money in these Power Four conferences, not only is it a risk to just go to the Pac 12. Last thing, and probably the most important thing, you know how much money it costs? You don't just get up and just walk over to another conference. I know it seems that way, but that's not how it works. You have to pay money. You're contracted with these conferences. So in order to go to another one, you have to break said contract. And that costs money, which the Pac 12 is going to have to pay. Pac 12 is paying millions upon millions upon millions of dollars just to get the four teams that they got this morning from the Mountain West. So you can imagine how much it would cost them to get a team from one of these Power Four conferences if they even wanted to come. But none of them would want to come in the first place. Yeah, sure, they'd run Utah could go to this conference as constructed and run it and be the best team. So what? They're the best team in the Big 12. Why would Utah leave the situation that they're in? They're in a great situation. So it just makes no sense. And, a lot of people think that 2026 is when the next big realignment is going to happen in college football. And I am kind of thinking the same thing. And I think we could then see the ACC kind of be the next conference to implode. And I think the ACC will do a similar tactic that the Pac 12 is doing. I think the ACC will just try and be one of the best group of five conferences. I think you could see them add a Tulane, add a Memphis. Maybe they'll add an Appalachian State, a Liberty, something like that. You'll see the Big 12 add a USF, add a Miami, add a Florida State, or and then Florida State and Clemson will go wherever they want to go. I know the SEC has interest in North Carolina. I mean, that's just where we're going to be until we get to basically a super league, because that's where we're headed. We're headed to a super league. So all this is positioning. Now, teams that are in the Big Ten, teams that are in the SEC, they're lucky that they're there because they don't have to worry about positioning because they're already positioned in the perfect spot. So you don't have to worry about it. You're going to be in the Super League. That will eventually take place and happen. I think a lot of people are going to miss the way conferences used to be, and I understand that. I really do. But, I think money-wise, and this was inevitable, I think. I think it was inevitable. But I am happy to see that the Pac-12 is at least trying. They're not just dying. Because look, Oregon State and Washington State had to do something. They had to do something. They could not just stand by and be a two-person conference. They couldn't. So it's good to see that they're trying to do something. I'm sure that people who love the Mountain West Conference or people who are fans of the teams in the Mountain West who don't seem to be brought along to the Pac-12, I'm sure they're going to feel isolated and left out, and they're going to be angry. And you have every right to be angry. But this is the new era of college football. This is where we're going. This is where we're headed. The ACC is next. The ACC is next. They're going to lose members. Florida State and Clemson will be out that door as soon as they can. And Miami will probably leave. North Carolina will probably leave, followed by others. And then ACC will have to do what the Pac-12 is doing. They'll have to add some group of five teams. Maybe you'll see a Appalachian State, a Tulane, maybe a Memphis, maybe what else? Western Michigan, maybe. That'd be a fun one. A Liberty, maybe. Coastal Carolina. You get my point. That's just kind of where we're at now. As far as some ACC teams, I would love to join the SEC because that's what I'm a fan of. That's what I know best, the SEC. Ooh, I mean, obviously you look at teams like Georgia Tech, Miami. Although I don't think SEC is going to get Miami, but you can Georgia Tech could be an option. Really good academically in Atlanta, but they already have a foothold in Georgia. They have the brand in Georgia. You could also, I know they want North Carolina, great basketball school, occasionally good at football. I think I heard they like Virginia. That could also be an option. And then Florida State and Clemson are obvious ones. But it's kind of just a matter of seeing what happens. I know this was a short episode. I just wanted to kind of get on, talk about the Pac-12, but my laptop's dying. I already did my pick'ems. I already talked about week 3. I already talked about weeks 1 and 2. So I'll be back here on Tuesday, see if there's any more info from the Pac-12, see how week 3 goes. And I know this was a shorter episode. Promise you, longer episodes next week. But I had to get on and at least talk about this Pac-12 stuff because it's crazy. A lot of misconceptions. But I hope everyone has a good day and enjoy week 3 of college football.